Real Madrid to splash 120 million euros on Liverpool's main man. Chelsea begin the hunt for a new number one. Arsenal surprisingly put their top striker up for sale. It's over. Vinícius Júnior tells Real Madrid he wants out. All that and loads more in today's episode. If this video hits 350 likes, I'll sit down straight away and start working on the next one. Let's jump into the latest transfer rumors. Maresca wants new number one. Mike Maignan is on Chelsea's radar again. The French keeper is 30, and his contract at Milan is up next summer. That means, come January, he can sign a pre-contract with any non-Italian club. It's logical that Chelsea are circling back, especially after Robert Sanchez had a howler against Manchester United. The situation for Chelsea looks pretty sweet. They looked at Maignan over the summer, but Milan just shut them down, slapped a £25 million price tag on him, and flat out refused to sell their main man between the sticks. Back then, the Rossoneri managed to keep him after Massimiliano Allegri personally stepped in, and the two saw eye to eye. That cooled things down for a bit, but now Milan's hands are tied. His contract is winding down, and in a few months, Maignan will be a free agent. Chelsea could easily push for a deal in the winter, get an agreement sorted early, and bag themselves a new number one for free in June. As a piece of business, it's a complete no-brainer, especially when you consider Maresca is a massive fan of the Frenchman and sees him as a vital part of his system. He reckons Maignan suits his style of play way better than what he's got right now. Obviously, Milan aren't just sitting on their hands. The club are already looking at potential replacements, knowing there's a huge chance the Frenchman will be off. In the summer, the board put their foot down, but come the new year, holding on to him will be impossible. And if this deal happens, it'll be a rare case of Chelsea not having to overpay for once, getting France's number one keeper for next to nothing, or even on a complete free. Vinny out. Vinícius Júnior has suddenly been thrown into a role he's not used to. Under Carlo Ancelotti, he was the first name on the team sheet, the main man in attack, the one everyone looked to for a bit of magic. But since Xabi Alonso walked in, everything's flipped. At 25, the Brazilian is feeling for the first time that his spot at Real Madrid isn't so safe. 6 games in, and he's been dropped twice already. Worse still, he hasn't played a full 90 minutes once. For a player of his level, that's a massive wake-up call. The biggest red flag was the Espanyol game. Alonso hooked him off around the 70-minute mark, and Vinny was visibly fuming. The anger, the confusion, the clear disgust at the decision. You could see it all over his face. For a guy who's used to being irreplaceable, that really hits the ego. All right, guys, quick break so you can smash the like or dislike button on this video. Any reaction is massive. Thanks for the support. It seriously helps the channel. Now, there's real talk that if this doesn't change, Vini could be out the door as soon as January. On paper, he's got a contract until 2027, and Real have him locked down with a €1 billion release clause. But the fact we're even talking about him leaving shows there's a real rift between him and the club. To make things worse, the contract extension talks that were going so well under Ancelotti have completely hit a wall. After their last meeting post-Club World Cup, they seemed so close. Vinny even made huge compromises, dropping his wage demands way more than the club asked. But what happened next? Total radio silence. And now, there's the Mbappe factor. Vinny is clearly worried his role is going to be chopped and changed to fit the Frenchman in. Alonso might have a plan where Vinny is no longer the main character, just another body in the rotation. The manager keeps saying publicly that the Brazilian is a key part of his project, but his actions are telling a different story. With all this going on, other clubs are sniffing around. Saudi Arabia has been after him for ages, and they're ready to throw stupid money at him if they get the chance. In Europe, you hear whispers about PSG and Man City, but it all depends on Real. They won't sell in January, no chance. But come summer, if this mess isn't sorted and that contract isn't signed, things will get very interesting. AS is saying the next 2 or 3 months are make or break. That's when we'll find out if Vinny will cave to the club's terms. The player wants Mbappe-level wages, and why wouldn't he? He's won the Champions League, been one of the best players in the world, and delivered in the biggest moments. But Real are playing hardball. The board won't sign off on a new 5-year deal until they see how Alonso fits him into the new system. It's a risky game for both of them. For the club, if they drag this out, they could end up with Vini having less than a year on his deal, and then they'll get pennies for him. For the player, less game time means his value drops, and he loses that untouchable star status. The change from a couple of years ago is insane. Back then, Real wouldn't even entertain the crazy offers from Saudi Arabia. Vini was the future, the guy they were building everything around. Now, total uncertainty, stalled talks, and rumors he could be sold. It's interesting that Vini himself keeps saying publicly he wants to win more trophies with Real. He's playing the loyal card, but behind the scenes, he's clearly hurt by the early subs and the contract limbo. That's why right now, it feels like a game of chicken between him and the club. So, the bottom line is this. Real Madrid have the contract until 2027 and that massive release clause. Vinícius has the trophies and the clout to make demands, but they're stuck in a deadlock. And that's what makes this whole situation so tense. There's way too much on the line for empty words about his important role. A decision needs to be made, and fast. Jesus wants January exit, Gabriel. Jesus wants out of Arsenal as early as January. The Brazilian has been sidelined for nearly a year, and it's not clear at all when he'll be back. While he was recovering, Arteta went and signed Victor Gyökeres. Now they have the Swede and Kai Havertz, who comfortably cover the number 9 position. In this pecking order, Jesus is somewhere in 3rd or 4th place, and that's if he's lucky. Football Transfers reports that the Brazilian is seriously considering a winter move. The guy wants to play, not warm the bench. Especially with the World Cup on the horizon, you don't get a call-up to the national team without game time. The logic is ironclad. Either you play and make the squad, or you sit on Arteta's bench and watch the World Cup on TV. The problem for Jesus isn't just the injury. It would be one thing if he was just taking a long time to recover. But no, while he was out, Arsenal turned into a machine where 2 top players already occupy his position. Gyökeres has slotted in seamlessly, and Havertz has become indispensable. So where does Gabriel fit in? Exactly, nowhere. Even when the Brazilian is fully fit again, he'll have to prove he's better than players who are already established starters. And that's no easy task. Havertz is scoring. Gyökeres is delivering. Why would Arteta change a winning formula? Especially for a player who hasn't played in a year. Arsenal, to their credit, have created such competition in attack that even former starters are now thinking about leaving. It shows the level the club is at. Previously, Jesus was indispensable, but now he could leave and no one would shed too many tears. The team has become so strong that it can afford to lose players like him. The funny thing is, Arsenal are supposedly committed to the player. Oh yeah, committed to a place on the bench. The club isn't pushing anyone out. They've just created a situation where Jesus wants to leave on his own. It's smart. You can't deny it. So now the Brazilian faces a choice. Either he stays in London, earns good money, but plays in cup matches against third-division teams at best, or he moves to a smaller club where he'll be the main striker and can get into shape for the World Cup. For a player of his level and ambition, the choice is obvious. The January window is just around the corner, and it looks like a decision will have to be made quickly. Jesus needs game time right now, not sometime in the future. Every month on the bench reduces his chances of making the national team. And without the national team, what's the point of a top Brazilian forward's career? Honestly, it's also in Arsenal's interest to sell him. It would free up the wage bill and bring in money for new transfers. And why keep an unhappy player who wants to leave? It's better to part ways on good terms while they can still get a decent fee for him. This whole situation is a classic example of how quickly things change in football. A year ago, Jesus was a key player for Arsenal, and now he's wondering which club to join just to get a game. Barca broke again. Marcus Rashford was just getting started on a new chapter, but he's already hit a major snag that could wreck his dream of staying at Barcelona. The Englishman, who swapped Manchester United for a loan in Catalonia this summer, has been flying under Hansi Flick, getting his confidence and form back. Rashford has been very open about it. He wants to stick around at the Camp Nou. But it's not that simple. The killer blow has come from La Liga. Barca's salary cap has been hammered, cut by a massive €112 million. It's dropped from €463 million down to just €351 million. The reasons? Some dodgy financial moves with the VIP boxes at the Camp Nou and the never-ending stadium rebuild that's killing their matchday cash flow. So, the Catalans are in a massive hole again, and every penny spent on players has to be scrutinized. On paper, Barca have an option to buy Rashford for €30 million next summer, which, let's be honest, is a steal for a player like him these days. But the big problem is his wages. Marcus is on €14 million a year, making him the 7th best-paid player on the team. To give you an idea, Robert Lewandowski is still top dog on €18 million. But who knows what will happen with Lewandowski after this season? If he goes, that frees up a huge amount of cash, which would pave the way for Rashford to sign permanently. It's a world away from his time at United. In England, under Ruben Amorim, he was basically frozen out. Here in Catalonia, Flick is giving him plenty of minutes, and Rashford himself says that adapting to the Barca way is making him a better player. You'd think it was a perfect match, but the budget hit has thrown a spanner in the works. The Athletic dug into the details. The old salary cap was held up by selling off future income from the VIP zones. They'd booked over €100 million from that. But new auditors took one look and refused to recognize about €87 million of it, and the whole thing came crashing down. Now Barca are €100 million in the red again and have to get creative. They've done it before, pulling those famous levers and selling TV rights just to register players. But you can't do that forever. Back in England, things are messy too. Rashford going back to Man United under Amorim is a non-starter. But he's still got 3 years on his contract there, and if they get a new manager in 2026, then maybe the door opens again. Not that Rashford is thinking about that. His focus is 100% on staying at the Camp Nou. The problem is what the player wants, what the manager wants, and even the buyout clause don't mean much on their own. In football today, money calls the shots. And if Barcelona can't find another loophole or clear some space on the wage bill, Rashford's time in Catalonia could be over before it's even properly begun. It'll be a real shame if this falls through. The guy has finally escaped the nightmare at United. He's playing with a smile on his face again, and now the club is tripping over the same old financial hurdles. It's the same old story for Barca, isn't it? Hope on the pitch, but stuck with the cold calculations of the bean counters off it. Real Madrid target Allister. Real Madrid have entered the market for another high-profile target, and this time their focus is Liverpool's Allister.